Buongiorno, my lovely patrons! How is it going? So happy to see you and so happy that you stopped by for a quick bite, especially today that is the 31st of December.
Who wants to get crazy for New Year?
I bet you have plans for tonight. Plans involving family time, involving partying with friends, and plans to eat all sorts of amazing dishes that you prepare with love, passion, and good quality ingredients as well. So it's understandable that you want to stay light tonight. Maybe we can make a quick aperitivo, what do you think? What about a tramezzino, some quality breadsticks, and a chalice full of Barolo?
I'm hungry!
In a minute!
I know, you are very familiar with these, but what if I tell you that these dishes are actually hints for our next location and hints where our case of today will bring us? Before we do that, as always, I kindly ask you to consider to like this video and possibly subscribe to this channel if you enjoy my content, of course. But in any case, thank you so much for the kind support you're giving me. And now, my fantastic patrons, get yourself comfortable. Enjoy your tramezzini and breadsticks, of course, because we're going to go to the city where those things were actually invented. We are going to Turin, Piemonte! Ah, Turin, the first official capital of the Reign of Italy, where you can visit one of the largest Egyptian museums of Europe, the Royal Palace, Piazza San Carlo, the Car Museum. Don't forget that Turin is the birthplace of Fiat after all. The list is long of places to visit. And yes, in the city is kept also the Holy Shroud, which I won't discuss in this video, but yes, it was debunked multiple times. And if you are a football fan, European football of course, you will be happy to know that this is the house of Juventus FC and Torino. Big rivalry. You understood. Between these two clubs.
E dopo scudetto lo vince la Juventus, lo becca la Juventus sempre.
I better not talk further on this topic or there will be consequences for me.
E la parola d'ordine, tanto per cambiare, è sempre la stessa.
And of course, Turin is also home to some historical places related to Italian cuisine. I mentioned before that tramezzini and breadsticks were invented here. Well, that's totally true. The breadstick, or grissini as we call them, were invented in 1679 by Antonio Brunero, royal baker of the Savoia house. It appears that the future king had some problems digesting the soft crumbs, so a genius idea was born, and today we're able to enjoy this crunchy treat. Rumor has it that King Louis XIV and Napoleon Bonaparte were huge fans of grissini. Regarding the tramezzino, it was invented in 1925 at Caffè Mulassano, place still active to this day and located in Piazza Castello. It was the Italian version of the classic sandwich, and the term tramezzo, meaning in between, breakfast and lunch of course, was invented by the poet Gabriele D'Annunzio. Lovely people, I don't have enough words to describe the city and I strongly recommend to check it out for yourself. You won't be disappointed. Today's case will bring us to an ex-asylum on the border of two towns, Grugliasco and Colegno, one of those places where real tragedy happened, unfortunately. Please, patrons, be warned. The information I'm about to share are indeed disturbing and enraging. Therefore, I place a trigger warning here. With that said, let's begin. Villa Azzurra. A building located beyond the gates of the Women Ex-Psychiatric Ward, it was used as an asylum for children, a place that was defined by the newspaper La Stampa in their article published on the 19th of August 2010 a lager, and I'm afraid the term in this case was not used incorrectly. A place of suffering, a place of human torture, a place theater of unspeakable things. Those kids were the definition of uneducable, dangerous to self and the others, as the doctors would put it in order to have them hospitalized. Children of 3 or 4 years old as well. For the nurses, which the sole requirement that they need in order to work there was an elementary school diploma and a certification stating that they were physically fit to work. Well, for them, these children were just tools. Tools that many times were tied to the gates of the inner courtyard, tied to scorching hot radiators, tied to their beds for no reason. In 1964, Professor Giorgio Coda became the head of the mental hospital in Colegno and the asylum in Grugliasco, and from that point, the violence took a different name: science for therapeutic purposes, and staining the good name of science in the process with these vile practices. We are talking about a sick individual here who forced children to fight against each other till they collapsed, an individual that was renamed the electrician due to his technique of setting electrodes in children's pubic area in order to prevent the soiling of the bed sheets. Electrodes applied to their private parts as well for their education. Che schifo. Che schifo. Thanks to the journalists of the newspaper L'Espresso investigating the claims, they were able to publish on the 26th of July 1970 a picture of a 10-year-old girl tied to her bed like Jesus on the cross with no clothes on, and finally, Italy was aware of what was going on in the asylum. Giorgio Coda was arrested, and 4 years later he was found guilty, responsible for the crime only for the facts on the mental hospital in Colegno. But it was not the end of it, as the defense appealed against this sentence. Roughly 3 years later, at the Court of Appeal of Turin, Coda's defense cleverly exploited what the judge Rodolfo Venditti called a torpedo, a sort of legal trick based on the fact that Giorgio Coda, as an expert, had been an honorary judge of the juvenile court in Turin, and therefore, since he had been a sort of judge, he could not be tried in the same court where he had worked as a judge, as stated by Italian law. This detail was perhaps kept hidden by Coda's defense over the whole inferior court trial, and the discovery of this led to the annulment of the judgment and the slowdown of the whole trial. Subsequently, the sentence was sent to the so-called Court of Cassation, the last step of Italy's 3 grades of judgment, but the crimes were time-barred and Coda never served any penalty because of crime prescription. Giorgio Coda died on the 23rd of May 1988 without serving a single day in prison. This is a terrible tragedy, and I'm afraid, patrons, the facts occurred in this place are well documented. There were actual testimonies of people who were hospitalized there. A trial. I am so sorry. Trust me, it was very hard for me researching the matter, just discussed without feeling sick to my stomach. The more I dug deeper, and the more I was in shock. Of course, a place with such tragic history attracted the curiosity of many investigation teams, led by the idea that abandoned asylum with suffering and death, it's basically a factory of ghosts and ghost sightings, but the truth is, there were a lot of claims of torture indeed, but I couldn't find any definitive data claiming that there were deaths in the building. Not to mention the total lack of official statements that the place is haunted besides the usual suspects. Loads of paranormal content creators with their plethora of gadgets claiming that they have evidence of a possible haunting, mostly for clicks and views.
You don't say.
Today we'll watch together the highlights performed by a group called Ego, accompanied by a self-proclaimed medium, Gabriela, of their 4-part investigation they conducted in this place. Judging by their thumbnails of the other videos, it's easy to assume that they may fake their content, but in this case, I'd say no.
Now hear me out. Ooh, whatever follows that is not gonna be good, believe me.
They don't fake it. What I personally believe after watching this case, link in the description, I assume that the group and the media are just misguided, completely misguided. Let's analyze their findings and their claims then.
Una persona già la conoscete e vorrei che venisse un attimo qua per presentarla di nuovo, che è Gabriela.
Il mio scopo è portare luce alle anime che sono ancora bloccate in questa dimensione.
This is Gabriela, a self-proclaimed medium. She's not even so unpopular. In fact, she used to appear in private televisions many years ago in Italy. She's also a writer in the topic of medium, angels, and all sorts of stuff. In my experience, there are two types of mediums. Number one, common scammers, people who wants to take advantage of the gullibility of other less educated people. The other type are those people with a good sense of observation, great intuition dictated by the perception of the events surrounding them, and due to the lack of understanding and heavy bias, these intuitions are often interpreted as a sign of a spirit. Honestly, after doing a bit of research on her, I can say that Gabriela falls into the second category. Whatever she say in this investigation, she believes it.
Ragazzi, io sono abituata così, quando le anime chiamano vado. Stamattina mi stavo truccando davanti allo specchio, ho visto questo bimbo di 7-8 anni.
L'hai visto?
Che mi ha chiamato mamma, sì, ve lo potrei descrivere.
Honestly, there is no way I can disprove that she saw or didn't see a child calling her mommy, but she's already and unwillingly setting the mood for everyone else that whatever they will encounter in this investigation, it's from otherworldly nature.
Sì, mi ha chiamata stamattina e non riuscivo a dare una spiegazione. Mi sono detta sarà collegato alla villa dove andremo, però poi analizzando la villa mi sono resa conto che non aveva, non c'erano...
Sì, anche perché in realtà, quando noi ci siamo incontrati, Gabriella, stamattina, e tu mi hai telefonato, mi hai detto in zona c'è anche un'altra opzione, c'è questo manicomio infantile. Io ne ho parlato subito con lei, ho detto guarda c'è quest'altra opzione, e lì ti si è accesa la lampadina e ho detto ecco perché.
Sì, perché stamattina mi sono sentita chiamare mamma, dobbiamo andare lì.
Dobbiamo andare lì, infatti.
Memories are known to not be trustworthy. What if the call happened before the apparition of the child and she's just reorganizing the memories? Kind of a stretch, I know, but another option is she knew about this visit to the villa before and she is auto-suggesting herself.
Ora siamo qui, sono strafelice perché il bambino mi sta già guardando. Si chiama Marco e voglio
scoprire la sua storia.
The child's name is Marco. It's quite a common name in Italy, and I'm not saying anything but a bit too generic in this case. Then she proceeds to break down in tears and explain that he was tortured and beaten. She's not faking this part, but said information are known since the 70s, and I do believe that this is just a case of self-suggestion mixed with real sadness. As I said before, the story of the villa is hard to digest. So far, I have no problem at all with this whole case. Then they decided to do a first wipe of the place, checking the building out before the actual night investigation, and honestly, this is a good practice in my opinion, so good for you guys.
Che lo fai, mi spieghi il pendolino, cosa serve?
Il pendolino mi serve per captare più velocemente dove andare.
Ma rifaccia il piacere! Sentite.
Sì, guarda. Questo Marco non mi molla.
Marco?
Sì.
Se c'è Marco qua può comunicare con Gabriela, per favore.
Questa è una pietra che arriva dalla Bosnia, ragazzi. Mi è stata regalata da un amico che va proprio nei posti in Bosnia dove ci sono energie pazzesche anche di guarigione.
Ma rifaccia il piacere! Sentite.
And now my issue with the case starts. Marco doesn't leave the medium and she decides to take out the pendulum. I am truly resisting the urge to make jokes on this fact. Anyway, I'm afraid that the ideomotor effect that will make the pendulum swing cannot be classified as a ghost. Using it as a compass in order to navigate the structure, well, that's a bad idea.
Dove sono più ubicati questi bambini? Va da sé il pendolino, non sto facendo nulla.
I disagree here. You're moving. You're walking. As a consequence, the pendulum moves. Simple physics.
Gabriele, hai detto sei una bambina?
Should I tell her? Lady, your arm is the thing responsible for the movement of the pendulum. It's quite clear.
No, è anche negativa questa
Un gatto?
No.
Ma io sono
Un gatto.
Verso di un gatto?
Sì.
È negativa.
Ha detto siediti sulla sedia a rotelle, ma no.
This person, Andrea, tries to rationalize the sound he just heard, attributing it to a cat. But immediately gets shut down by the statement of the medium who is trying to push a different narrative.
È una ribelle, una bimba ribelle, ha più o meno 7 anni, con i capelli neri ricci.
Heck, judging by the amount of details she's given away, I am surprised that she's not giving the ghost actual social security number at this point.
Devi metterti qua, continua a dire, ma lo vedete il pendolino?
Sì,
che fa?
sì, sì.
Ok, adesso...
No.
Aspetta.
Dice di mandarle luce.
A random noise, noted in the video but not explained as a standard occurrence in a decaying building. Guys, it means nothing paranormal, and I do believe that at this point, your rational thinking has been shut down completely by the narrative pushed by the medium. The pendulum takes the spot in this whole part as the star of the show until...
Una chiave d'acciaio.
Oh yeah, we heard it. Let's exclude the usual suspects here. Sample sounds or sounds produced by one of you, difficult to say, but the area in which the building is located is full of other buildings. Most of it are indeed public facilities, such as medical facilities and a police station. Could it be that the noise echoed inside the empty room from outside? After all, the windows are opened.
Sì, signora. Non può essere tipo il vento, visto che ha aperto tutto, che
No,
fa
ho sentito il lamento femminile.
Oh boy. Again, he tries to rationalize, pointing out a possible explanation. Once again, he says the windows are open, it can be a breeze, and yet again the medium shut him down, convinced that it was indeed a lament. Stop, nothing to do about it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
And after a good amount spent in following what I think is a driven narrative by the medium of the group, they decided to change location and start other types of experiments.
Qui di notte accadono cose impressionanti. Oh, ragazzi, io non so qua. Non mi è successo una roba così,
This happened to you before? Oh, first time?
Indifferent. Finally, for the first time, these stupid machines are actually useful. Indeed, I'm starting to feel indifferent to this investigation. What she's doing is what is called in the trade automatic writing, an auto-hypnotic practice used by some psychotherapists to try to allow the subject into lowering their conscious defenses and try to get as close as possible to the subconscious. Needless to say that this type of procedures requires to have the subject in a total state of relaxation, and I'm afraid squatting like that is not to be considered a position in which you can fully relax.
Tutto questo. Dai, va.
He just felt something and got scared, that's all.
Oh, raga.
Cosa? Ti ha fatto così sull'orecchio di
No, l'ha preso. Mi ha preso qualcosa qua.
Could it be that you, by accident, were a little bit too close to the wall? I mean, the mood is indeed set for them to get startled by anything that in a normal setting would not cause such fuss in the first place.
Basta!
Well said! Oh, standing up like this, I kinda find it difficult that you are in a relaxed position either. My conclusion is that you are scribbling on purpose.
Sì, luce di Satana, questo è il mio nome, mettete il culo fuori da qui.
Oh my, rude! Mind your language, lady. And did she say that the entity's name is Light of Satan?
You serious?
Satan in the Bible is a profession, sometimes an adjective, can be translated as accuser, opposer, or public prosecution. The only instance where Satan is preceded by "the" is in the books of Enoch, considered apocryphal for the Catholic Church and other forms of Christianity. In any case, even in the Book of Enoch is presented as a sort of profession, not a name. Once again, she is injecting her personal belief into the whole thing. Unfortunately, she is convinced that what she sees is real. I'm not saying she's insane, of course, but these beliefs are unfortunately imprinted into her brain. But she's sane of mind, as far as I can tell.
Scontro. Ma no, non possiamo entrati.
As I said, in order to perform automatic writing, you need to be under hypnosis. Doesn't it seem odd that she switches from hypnosis state to conscious state so quickly and so flawlessly?
Tanto,
I have honestly no clue why he's acting so weird. EMS spikes all over the place. And you know what I did? The most logical thing. I asked Kenny Biddle, of course, sending him this precise part, and just by being an absolute legend, we replied as follows. The meter being used is a cheap single-axis meter that websites don't even mention a manufacturer. Bad sign, meaning it's a cheap product all around. The scale shows a range, and a wide range at that. It jumps from 2.5 mg to 10, then to 40, then to 160. The reason the lights appear to jump up and down is because there is such a wide range between the lights that it can help but jump up and down erratically. The devices they have set up might be causing the readings, especially the ghost box they have. We also don't know what else is around them. Something to keep in mind is that the meter is a single type axis, meaning it's only reading on one axis at a time. With those meters, you can go from no readings to high readings simply by rotating it 90 degrees. So, just by turning it to face the cameras on either side, we see a difference in reading. And thank you, Kenny. Two things are in my mind right now. Number one, pause the video and go to subscribe to Kenny's channel in this instant. Link is in the description. Number two, this thing is as reliable as the other spirit boxes, apps, word generators that they are using in this moment. In other words, those spikes means nothing.
Andrea, io vorrei farti fare un esperimento particolare, vorrei bendarti, metterti un paio di cuffie, in pratica un ghost box. Te lo tieni tu, sentirai solo tu quell'audio.
So your brilliant idea is to take your guest, which is already visibly shaken by all this nonsense, and put him through an Asta session?
What you talking about, Will?
Yes, he did exactly that. Oh boy. And they indeed proceed with the questions.
Vuoi farci del male? Vuoi farci del male?
5.
5. A total miss.
Che cosa vuol dire 5?
4.
5 means 4? I beg your pardon?
Ci sta dando l'ultimatum.
Via!
Why I had the strong feeling that she would have said something like that.
Vuoi che andiamo via?
No.
The entity seems very confused at this point. Entity, decide please, should I stay or should I go? You didn't expect that.
Vuoi farci rimanere qua?
Via!
Go? Can you please at least explain me what?
3.
Alright, you can count backwards. Jeez.
2.
It's the final countdown.
Given that today's is the 31st of December, it's appropriate.
1.
Happy New Year! So the countdown is over. What is gonna happen now?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
Voi
Sì? Noi cosa?
capire.
Dobbiamo capire.
Via.
Sei tu che devi andare via di qua. Non noi, tu devi
No.
andare via. No. Invece sì, vai via tu di qua. E dici il tuo nome.
Tu.
No, il tuo nome, non il mio.
Merda.
Tu sei una merda.
Goodness gracious, what a despicable display of insults now.
Di il tuo nome.
3.
Here we go again with the pattern of numbers that means nothing at all, as it is just coincidental, but for them, in that psychological status, means another ultimatum.
Durante gli esorcismi,
Sì.
quando chiedi all'entità nefasta, il diavolo che c'è all'interno della persona, non ti dicono mai il suo nome, non te lo dicono. Finché non lo pronunciano il loro nome, non se ne vanno. Quando arrivano a pronunciarlo, vanno via.
And another healthy dose of personal bias, mixed with superstition, mixed with false beliefs. What you call exorcism, I call it a procedure involving a person who requires immediate psychological care. Also, the belief of the name of the demon is a thing that spawned from the Lesser Key of Solomon and other grimoires. That's again your personal bias taking over, and no real evidence to corroborate these claims.
Sei luce di Satana? Rispondimi. Rispondi.
Sotto la risata.
Mi dici il tuo nome?
Forse.
Dai, forza. Dammi il tuo nome.
Stomping your foot on the floor won't make it happen. Have you tried asking the entity with the magic word, please?
Come ti chiami?
Nope, she won't listen.
Hai il nome che inizia per M, vero? Di quale schiera satanica fai parte?
And here we go again with another personal belief and bias. Plus, satanic circles reminds me a lot of Dante Alighieri's, you know, Divina Commedia, the Inferno. Safe to assume that this bias comes from that.
Ti chiami Metatron?
Metatron as in the voice of God? Okay, let's try to set the record straight. Metatron in the scriptures is mentioned 3 times. 2 times in the Talmud and in the Agada, which is a compendium of rabbinic text that incorporates folklore, historical anecdotes, moral exhortation, and practical advice in various spheres from business to medicine and in other Jewish texts. Still, the name doesn't appear in the Torah nor the Bible, and we don't know how the actual name originated from. Maybe I should ask the other Metatron. You know, Sicilian guy who lives in the US, linguist, historians, and overall an handsome smart devil? Doesn't ring any bell? In any case, another angel and another bias injected in this investigation. Apparently, this investigation is still open, as the last video was published on the 13th of December. In 4 videos, no evidence of paranormal were ever shown. And now, let's head back to the restaurant. Finally back with our belly full, and I hope that my usual satirical tone of the investigation was able to at least make you crack a couple of smiles and possibly forget about the actual history of the place. I have few words to say in conclusion of this video. I do believe that ego are not trying to fake content, and I'm sure that they just got influenced by watching other content creators believing that creating clickbaity titles, putting scaring thumbnails, surround themselves with gadgets and gizmos can actually lead to an effective result. In regards of the medium, as I said, I have nothing personal against her, as I think she truly believes what she preaches, and in her mind she's probably thinking that she's doing good, but I'm afraid that is quite the opposite. Paranormal research, as well as other research, requires the use of the scientific method. We saw that this investigation was driven entirely by the assumption of the medium, and when someone was trying to explain the events with rational thinking, well, every time they got shut down. What we saw in the video, from her side at least, were her intuition in regards of the perception of the event around her, the knowledge about the place that she already had, her bias in the beliefs of religious mythology and folklore. My personal suggestion to you, ego, is the following. Don't do this for just clicks and views. Get rid of the clickbaity titles, the thumbnails, the gadgets and gizmos, and possibly do not use a medium in an investigation. Be more scientific and debunk. Debunk. With that said, guys, midnight is fast approaching, and I wanted to take this chance to wish you Happy New Year to you, lovely patrons. to my family, to my closest friends, and Happy New Year also to Ego and their guests. May the upcoming 2025 bring only joy and good things to you. As always, eat well, drink responsibly tonight, have fun, and see you all the next year. Buon anno, Happy New Year, ciao!